Good evening, everybody. Meteorologist Nicholas Snyder here. Today is Tuesday, January 21st. This is First Alert Plus. We've got a whole lot to talk about this evening, of course, with a whole bunch of historic weather happening with numerous events, including cold Arctic air and an historic winter storm. We're going to start with that, something we haven't seen since the 1890s. We're also talking about that cold wave that's impacting our region. Of course, we're going to see likely the coldest air of 2025 headed our way overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. And then a pattern change. Finally, we could be talking about some much warmer conditions as we head on into the beginning of February. Of course, we are going to start with the active conditions that are occurring over much of the eastern United States and southern United States. In fact, again, an historic winter storm that is currently impacting much of the southeast right now. It's something we haven't seen again since the 1890s, so definitely we want to take a look at that. Let's get at our water vapor satellite here. I want to show you what we're seeing. We're kind of getting a whole bunch of moisture moving on into the south from the Gulf of Mexico here. And I'll highlight for you exactly what is causing this and what we will need to be taking a much closer look at here. I want you to notice first this plume of moisture here in much of the southern United States. We've got this area of cold air that's off to the north. Of course, we're well aware of that cold air that's off to the north. It's funneling on down into this moisture right here. And with that cold air combining with the moisture, with an area of low pressure too, that I'm going to highlight for you right back here, this little dip in the jet stream back here, that is what's causing an area of low pressure to form over the Gulf of Mexico. And it's bringing about, again, historic snowfall totals to portions of the southeastern United States. In fact, let's take a look at some of the reports we've seen out of this. We're looking at 4 inches in places like Lake Charles, Louisiana. Yes, if you remember, just 100 or so days ago, we're talking about hurricanes making landfall over there. Now they have 4 inches of snow. Beaumont, Texas, we're waiting on reports there, but Baton Rouge up to 2 inches of snow likely. Houston, 3.5 inches of snow. New Orleans, 4 inches of snow. It's unprecedented. Again, we haven't seen snow totals like this since the 1890s. We've been watching New Orleans all day on our sky cams. In fact, we can give you a look at what they're seeing down there in the New Orleans area as we're looking at this. It is certainly a sight to be seen down there in the southern United States. We'll pull up a few of these cameras right now for you. In fact, this is Bourbon Street in New Orleans right now on the Earth cameras. Look at that. That is a snow-covered Bourbon Street that we're seeing there in New Orleans. Again, unprecedented. Of course, their record snowfall, 8.5 inches, set back in 1895. The last time I checked, they had around 7 inches there. They could break that record with the amount of snow they've been seeing down in that general area. This is Pensacola, Florida. You saw how snow-covered that beach was over there in Pensacola, Florida. Just unreal what we're seeing down there in the southern United States. And it's not done yet. We've got portions of Florida, portions of Georgia, portions of the Carolinas that will be getting in on some interesting snow activity to come in the coming really 24 to 48 hours or so. So let's set the map in motion here. What we're looking at here, I want to highlight this one specific area in the jet stream. What's causing this? Again, we notice that dip back here in the winds, where those winds are turning from the north going to the southeast. This is something else I want to highlight right here. This is what's known as a jet streak, a very fast area of winds high up in the sky. And right in there, what we are about to see is that the pressure is pulling these winds further to the north high up, whereas the pressure further to the south, which is high pressure, it's pulling the winds further that way. So diverging air aloft, causing, of course, an area of low pressure to develop out of this right about there in the Gulf of Mexico. And when you get that diverging air aloft, you get very, very fast rising motion for the production of precipitation and, of course, for the production of snow in this case, with the very cold air that we are seeing over much of the south. So let's go back to this imagery. We'll set this map in motion here. We'll get rid of everything we've drawn on this map, and let's set the map in motion. Again, moving forward, you see Florida getting impacted by this. It eventually moves off to sea. So the good news is, if you're on the East Coast and you're worried about getting a heavy snow, I know we just got out of a heavy snow this past weekend up toward Boston, and even in our area, we saw that Sunday snowstorm come through. We're not going to see that along the East Coast, and we're not going to see that here in Appalachia. We are going to stay dry from this event. Of course, you saw those flurries earlier on this afternoon and evening, not doing a whole lot, just a light coating on the ground. That's kind of what we're expecting the most out of this in our region in southern Ohio, eastern Kentucky, and West Virginia. And of course, the heaviest snows moving off to shore. So that is good. But if you're going down to Myrtle Beach, yes, they're expecting accumulating snow to develop. Again, just unprecedented. Here's what we're looking at the Earth's surface. Again, that area of low pressure tracking to the north and east. And again, yes, that white you see right here, that's heavy snow for the Carolina coast, for places like Myrtle Beach, for places like Augusta, Georgia, for places like the Outer Banks, getting in on some snow. Again, totally unprecedented for something that we just have not seen in quite a long time over much of the United States, something we haven't seen since the 1800s here. So certainly a record-breaking storm indeed, as it continues to pull in some of that moisture from the Atlantic and from the Gulf, and we'll highlight some of that moisture for you. Again, there's that moisture coming in, and as we look to that area of low pressure, remember, areas of low pressure, they kind of pull in air. And so as that pulls in its air, what it's going to do is it's going to cause some more heavy snow in places like the Carolinas. We have winter storm warnings in place for places like Pensacola, Florida, for places like Panama City, for places like Tallahassee. This is what we could be expecting as far as additional snow through the night tomorrow night. Myrtle Beach, up to 5.4 inches. Wilmington, North Carolina. This is the European model, by the way. Could see even more than this. Wilmington, North Carolina, 5.2. Tallahassee, 3.4. Mobile, 2.6. Something, again, unprecedented. Very historic storm that is impacting much of the southern United States here. And New Orleans, again, we could break records here. Their record snowfall set back in 1895, 8.5 inches. And they're expecting another 3 to 4 inches of snow on top of what they've already seen, which could very well be record-breaking for that general area. Let's move this forward and talk about those winter storm warnings. Still in effect for New Orleans, still in effect for southern portions of Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama. Anywhere in this pink right here that you're seeing, that is a winter storm warning that is in place here. This whole pink area from Atlanta all the way down to New Orleans, through Jacksonville, Florida, toward Myrtle Beach, east of Raleigh, North Carolina, into the Outer Banks. That is a winter storm warning. And those are in effect until tomorrow evening once this storm goes out to shore. Of course, we're dealing with cold air of our own. The coldest air we're likely going to be seeing in the entire year of 2025, unless December, of course, decides to become a very cold month as well going into next year. We're talking about temperatures that are going to reach into the negatives overnight tonight. And I wanted to look back at some of the historic events that we have seen, at least over the last 10 or so years, to kind of give some context of what we could be seeing with this event coming on into the area. So let's move forward here and talk about that. Of course, we are looking at very frigid conditions working in, but certainly pales in comparison to what we have seen. The coldest one in 2014, our high was a measly 12 degrees in early January of 2014, the low of -4. It's going to be a bit warmer than that overnight tonight, and especially today for your high. 2019, I remember an historic polar vortex event coming on in as well. In fact, I was up at Ohio University in Athens. We dealt with wind chills that were 30 degrees below zero. Actual air temperatures in Huntington reached about 1 degree. The high reached about 20 degrees. That was the end of January and the beginning of February of 2019. And as we head into 2022, of course, we remember that, the famous couple days before Christmas where we dropped very, very low. Well, our high there was 21 and our coldest low was -4. Again, that was a few days before Christmas here as we moved into the holiday season in the year 2022. Now, as we head into the overnight tonight, we are expecting to get below zero. 2 degrees below zero, in fact, will be our low. Those feels like temperatures, though, for a lot of us reaching -10 to -15. Good news is we're going to start to see a lot of the precipitation that we've seen clear out of the area, but it will not really help the situation because clear skies, they allow any heat that came in from the sunshine to escape right back out into space, and that's going to allow us to really, really cool down. heading into the late night tonight and early tomorrow. In fact, these are temperatures around the region. Notice how far we drop after warming up today. Again, -1 to -2 for a lot of us. Up toward Parkersburg, -5. Pikeville, 1 degree above zero. Beckley, -5. Richwood, -8. You factor in a little bit of a breeze, and this is what you could be talking about for the morning hours of tomorrow morning. We're talking 10 to maybe even 15 degrees below zero. This is from the European model. I do think we'll get a little bit above what this is forecasting, but again, that danger time really slots here all the way from 3 p.m. today through about 11 a.m. noon tomorrow. We're looking at dangerously cold temperatures moving on into the area, and hence first alert weather days that are in place for that time frame going into the day tomorrow. It's certainly something we will have to watch over the next 24 hours. Frostbite is definitely a concern. Of course, wind chills causing the frostbite a concern, frozen pipes, and school closings and delays too. If you were looking at our Facebook page and our TikTok page earlier, I posted something for the kiddos, our snow day calculator, and yes, a lot of us are going to be experiencing at least delays. In fact, everyone I do anticipate on at least a 2-hour delay tomorrow. If not a 2-hour delay, we'll have those NTI days where you're remote, or of course, you could end up with a snow day. This is what I'm forecasting in terms of wind chills. I showed you the model output earlier. This is what I'm expecting. Huntington, you're reaching 5 to 10 degrees below zero for that feels like temperature. Same thing for Portsmouth, Ashland, Ironton, over to the Ripley area, toward Paintsville, out toward Moorhead, Grayson, out toward the Vanceburg area. It's going to be cold. Moving further and further to the east into the mountains, when you get up higher in elevation, it's feeling even colder. Richwood, 25 to 30 degrees below zero in terms of those wind chills. Yeah, that is going to be cold. Elkins, 25 to 30 degrees as well below zero. Morgantown, 15 to 20 degrees below zero. Athens, same deal. So for the college towns in our area, going to have to bundle up, kids, because a lot of those classes likely don't get canceled unless something really, really cold is on the horizon. So OU, WVU, even in Marshall, you're probably going to class tomorrow, and you're going to need to dress in layers as you're going to class tomorrow. Charleston, 10 to 15 degrees below zero. Logan, 15 to 20 degrees below zero along that Corridor G area. Pikeville, same thing, 15 to 20 degrees below zero for those feels-like temperatures. You're going to need to bundle up, like I've been saying earlier. Leave that faucet at a bit of a drip to prevent the pipes from bursting. That certainly could be an issue, as we could run into that issue tomorrow morning. We saw that already this morning. We saw a big old geyser open up on the east end of Huntington with a water main break. So it's certainly a possibility we could see that again tomorrow morning with how cold these wind chills will be. It's not lasting forever, however. We've got some good news in the forecast. Let's talk about that. It's our next big thing to talk about. A pattern change is incoming, something a lot of us have been wanting to hear, I'm sure, for a long time. Those highs going to be closer to average. We're feeling a lot warmer after these temps. Average high is about 42, 43 degrees around this time of year. It's going to be feeling around that, which feeling like, compared to what we're seeing out there right now, basically a tropical paradise compared to now. So that's going to be nice. The change begins in late January and lasts into February. So the end of winter looking a whole lot better. The upper air observations, the upper air patterns is key to what we could see. What do I mean by that? I'll show you. This is a global view, European model run. I'm pausing it right here. I want you to notice where we started. Going back to where we began on this model run, notice one thing I need to show you, and that's this area of greens just to the east of Greenland. That means we're seeing what's called a negative North Atlantic oscillation. This is going to change. Let's move this back forward. Notice how it gets much cooler near Greenland and Iceland right here. It's called an Icelandic low. That's called a positive North American oscillation. Now, Alaska, you're still warm. When Alaska's warm like this, we still see this cold want to filter on down. That's why it's still rather cold in this general area right here, where you're seeing these blues and these purples kind of filter on down to the eastern part of the United States because of that Alaskan high pressure, where it's a little bit warmer over there. That's called a negative EPO, and a positive PNA. Now let's move this forward in time where that really negative NAO gets stronger, the Arctic oscillation gets stronger, and notice this, Alaska, you're starting to get in some of the colder air. Notice where the warmer air just kind of filters on down into the United States right here. That's what we're keeping a close eye on going into February, and it's certainly going to help those temperatures warm up quite a bit moving forward here. Going into February and the last day of January right here, let's get rid of what we've marked on this map. Moving forward, notice our region starting to get into those greens thanks to that Alaskan cold air right here, the positive North Atlantic oscillation right here, and the Arctic oscillation also positive in this general area. Really, really going to help much of the region in terms of warming those temperatures up, and we're looking much warmer. Let's take a closer view at what the temperature patterns could be over much of the eastern United States. Notice the warmer conditions further and further on to the south, those milder conditions surging on up into our area, moving into the end of January and beginning of February. As soon as Saturday even, as we're looking at much more closer to average temperatures and much better conditions moving in. Moving forward, again, it continues to get warmer and warmer, and we could see highs return into the 50s by the time we head into the early and middle portions of February. That's certainly going to be a welcome sign for a lot of us. Now, there is some signal that we could start to see another stretch of cold air work on in a little bit later on down the line as that North Atlantic oscillation becomes a bit more negative once again. We're going to have to keep a close eye on it, but certainly we're still not done with winter. We still have all the way till March 21st to get through winter. And, of course, until then, we're going to have to be talking about some snow and cold chances down the line here. So winter is, of course, not done until we get into that official start to spring over there into March. Climate Prediction Center, though, they're picking up on this signal here. Let's look at that, what they're saying. Over the next 6 to 10 days, look at this, near average temperatures and even warmer, above average temperatures up toward Minneapolis, St. Paul. Again, a very welcome sign for a lot of people in the Midwest. Of course, Minneapolis, St. Paul, they haven't seen a whole lot of snow this winter. We're actually beating them in terms of snow. We're beating Cleveland by 1/10 of an inch of snow as of last Saturday. So, of course, this has been a very unusual winter, and wouldn't you know, New Orleans, Louisiana is about to beat Minneapolis, St. Paul in terms of snow right now. Again, something that's just totally unprecedented and something that we have not seen in quite a while. Of course, we'll welcome that pattern change into February. We'll keep a close eye on it, and that pattern is going to break of the cold and Arctic temperatures that we have been seeing over really the entire month of January, set to end into the area. Of course, remember to share this video, like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And we're going to keep up with First Alert Plus as we move on down the line. Every Tuesday around 6:45 p.m. to about 7 p.m. We'll give you the latest forecast. We're talking about weather patterns and giving you the first alert to any active weather that could be headed our region or, of course, nationally. For then, I'm Nicholas Snyder. Make it a great Tuesday.